Hello friends, in this video we are going to learn networking concepts in AWS and we will see how exactly VPC, security, gateway, subnet, etc. how exactly that works. So it will be a short video. We will try to understand the concepts smoothly, easily by creating some of the EC2 instances and we'll see how exactly it works. So before beginning that, to hit the subscribe button so that you can get such educative video in future also. Now let's start. I have my AWS already logged in. Now in this diagram we can see that there is one VPC which we are going to create with this IP range. You can define any IP range which should be a private IP range. That's it. And then we are going to create one public subnet within that, one private subnet. A server it will be created, EC2 instance will be created in a public subnet and another server will be created in private subnet. And we will see how exactly all this distribution and connecting to internet etc. works. So we are going to use these components like NAT gateway, route table, router, right? So all that we are going to work and we are going to create and see how exactly all that works. So to begin with, first we need a VPC. VPC is virtual private cloud, where it will be a kind of virtual network, private network that will be created. So let's go to VPC. I'm opening in parallel window so that we can work simultaneously. So first thing, let's create our VPC and create VPC. So we can, as of now, for learning purpose, we can create VPC only and we can put the name Mukesh VPC. Okay, we can have the same naming convention and you can use your own name etc, whatever you want. So we can say Mukesh VPC and we can provide a range here. So let's put 10.0.0.0 and we can provide here subnet, whether it is 24 or 32. So this CIDR range is something which you can understand when you understand the concept. So that is something you can distribute. So the higher the number, you will be having less number of IPs. So what we can do here, we can go with 16 so that we get more number of IPs, and half IPs we will distribute in public and half of the IPs we will allocate to private subnet. Usually we don't need more public actually in production environment, but in our case we are going to distribute half and half for the test purpose. That's okay. So let's define here 16 and then we don't need IPv6 and rest all going to be fine. Okay, so it's basic configuration. We just provide VPC, provide the name of the VPC and the CIDR range. That's it. Let's go ahead and create that. It should not take much time. Okay, it is created. Now within VPCs we have to create two subnets. One is private subnet and another one is public subnet. So let's create first public subnet. So we can decide which VPC we want to create our subnet within that range. So now we have these many IPs CIDR range available and we can create the subnet within that CIDR range only. So let me say Mukesh private subnet and availability zone we can select US East 1. And then this is the whole range. If we define like this only, then it will consume all the IPs and you will not be able to create any other subnet within that. There will be IP conflicts. You won't be having the remaining IPs. So what we have to do, we have to choose the range so that we can create a subset of that. And we can say 1.0 and 24. When we say 24 means these three will be static and the last one 0 to 255, that is 256 IPs in all we are going to get. If you want to understand this, I can create a separate video. You can let me know in the comment section. So we will understand the CIDR range separately. Now this range is defined and we can create one more subnet here because we have to create a public subnet also. So let's create one public subnet, Mukesh public subnet, and for this also we will go with US East 1 and we will create CIDR block. Now Here we utilized 1.0. Now we can use here 2.0 slash, and again we will assign 256 IP address to this one also. See, you can see clearly here that 256 IPs are visible, so it is automatically suggesting that from 0 to 255. Similarly here 10.0.2.0 to 10.0.2.255. So those many IP ranges are available. That's it. I think we can create that subnet, and it should be creating two subnets. Now to be able to create an EC2 instance, you have to go within the subnet. You cannot directly create within the VPC itself. You have to choose a subnet. So now let's go, since we already have the subnet created, let's go and let's create a EC2 instance. So let's go ahead and launch an instance. For launching an instance, we will be creating two instances, one in public and one in a private subnet. So let's first create the public. So Mukesh public server. So this will be public server, and we can choose any kind of EC2 instance. So we can, for test purpose, Amazon Linux, AWS, that is fine. We can choose this AMI. So we have T2 micro, which is in free tier. Key pair is something which we should be creating. So let's create a new key pair, and let's name is Mukesh AWS server key, and that's it. And it will be downloaded also, so you can see it is already downloaded. And then we have create security group. Security group we can create because we don't have any existing security group as of now, and at least we can create SSH traffic so that we can SSH this server. And VPC is something, let's choose our own VPC instead of the default VPC. So the VPC which we created is already there, so we can choose this VPC. And this is a public server, so which we are going to use public subnet. So we are going to assign it to public subnet. Okay, I believe we are good now, and rest of the detail you can leave as it is. Launch instance. Shouldn't take much time, and once it is launched, we will try to connect to this server. Since it is already in public subnet, let's see if we can connect to this server. View all instances. This is being initialized. In the meanwhile, if we want, we can create another instance also. So launch instance, and we can create this private one also. So let's start that one also. Mukesh private server. Private server. Same thing. We can use this EC2. We can use this AWS Linux AMI, and we have T2 micro. Key pair login, which we already created. We are going to use the same key pair so that we don't need to create again and again. Again, network setting we need to choose. We don't need to go default. We have our own VPC created, and this time we are going to choose private subnet so that this server is located in the private subnet which we have created here. So this is going to be private server in the private subnet. Now security group will be created, that's fine. And auto assign public IP, we can say enable or disable, doesn't matter, but this is not going to create public IP because this is going to be in private subnet, but still we can say enable it. And in the last one also we will have to enable this public IP. So let's launch instance. Now go ahead and view all instances. So we can see that our public server is running. Do we have a public IP address? No, we don't have. So for that purpose, networking, manage IP address, auto assign public IP to be reassigned. That's okay. Confirm. So it should be assigning the public IP also. And so we have public server, and we can see this public IPv4 address is also there. Now let's try to connect this instance, this public instance. Let's try to connect this one. You can say instance is not in public subnet. Even if we have put it in the public subnet and we have named it as such, still it cannot reach out. What it is saying that it is not in the public subnet. So we are missing something. What we are missing? Let's go there. So first thing what we need, let's go and see the network also, that even if this is there, there should be an internet gateway also. So when there is default VPC, there is default internet gateway also. But in our case, we need to create internet gateway and we need to attach it also. Then only we will be able to see this connection going through internet. So let's come here, and in this VPC, we have to create network settings. We have to go and create an internet gateway. Creating internet gateway is very straightforward. So simply say Mukesh internet gateway IZZW internet gateway, and that's it. So it should be able to easily create internet gateways. And we can see that this internet gateway is as of now in detached state. Detached state means it is not associated with anything. So what we can do, we can attach this to VPC. So let's search VPC. We have our own VPC here, and let's attach with this VPC. Now we are attaching internet gateway to this VPC. So now we have our VPC, and this VPC is attached, this internet gateway is attached with the VPC, and this is in public subnet. Now let's see if it works or not. So let's try to refresh. And let's say connect using EC2 instance connect. Again, you can say instance is not in public subnet. So what we have done, we have already assigned here internet gateway, and internet gateway is attached with VPC. We already have a server, we have the public subnet. Now what is missing? Route table is missing. Router is already there. Router you don't need to worry about. It is AWS already creates a router file. But we have route tables missing here. So let's go here and go to route tables. In the route tables, we can see there is a default route table, but we create our own route table. So what we can say is Mukesh public route table, and we need to assign it to a particular VPC. Okay, and now let's create the route table. Route table is created. Now we need to associate with a particular subnet. So as of now, you can see that explicit subnet association or subnet without explicit. So there is no association as of now. So let's edit subnet association, and this Mukesh public subnet should be associated with route table so that it can reach out to internet gateway. So now what we have? Now we have VPC, we have our own public subnet, then we have route table also created, and we have internet gateway. So everything what is needed here for this system server to reach internet, we have almost everything created. And now let's try to connect it again. And let's refresh this window again. Public associated subnet. This Mukesh public subnet is not a public subnet. Why? We have already done that. We have already created. We have routes. Okay, so this route is missing. This is something we have only route for local. We don't have any route for the internet, and this is why we are not able to connect. So let's add a route here, and this 0.0.0 means internet, and this connection must go via internet gateway. This connection must go via internet gateway. And what is the internet gateway? Which we have created, Mukesh internet gateway. Save changes. So now the route which was missing to the internet, despite everything being put in place, we have everything put in place. We created the route table, but after creating the route table, we need to create a route also for the internet. Otherwise, by default, route is there for the local network only. Now, let's again try to connect this server. And let's go back to EC2 instances. We have public instance, and this public instance we have to try to connect. And now you don't see any error here. You see, the earlier message was coming that it is not there in public internet. That message is gone. Now let's connect it. Okay, so finally we are able to connect to our public server. So Mukesh public server is now finally reachable. And how it is reachable? We have the server is within this subnet is within this VPC. We have created an internet gateway attached with VPC. Then we have created a route table and added one more route so that this can reach through that route to the internet. That's it. This is done. Now let's come to the second part. We have created our private subnet and private server also. And even if we modify this private server and this route table for private server, so there is one thing. Either you modify this and you directly send the traffic to internet, which is not good. Private server should not be freely communicating with internet, because it's not only about naming convention, it's about the rules also which you create. If you create naming like private subnet and then you open it for the internet through your firewall rules, that doesn't make sense. So for the private subnet, let's try to connect also first. Let's see whether we are able to connect or not, so that it will make much more sense and we will be able to understand it much better. Now you can see that instance is not in public subnet. The same error which we are getting for the public server, same error we are getting in public subnet also. And for the public subnet, we should be able to connect only from this server, because once we go into this server, then from that server we should be able to jump into this server, so that nobody can reach out to this server directly from the internet. So this is a public facing server, and from this server any connection can be, so this can behave as a jump server. So somebody logging into this server, from there it can jump into the private server. So for that purpose, what we have to do, we need to get the code, the key which we have downloaded, that key has to come here. Let's go to downloads. So Mukesh AWS, and let's list any file. So this is the new file, which is 1. Here 1 is there. So let's rename this file also, and let's rename this file, okay, mv, Control C, and renaming is important because there are a lot of gaps. So what I can say here, new. Okay, let's see. Now this file is coming as new. Now we have to copy this file and put into AWS server, because this key will be required to be able to log in. So scp-i, and then we can use this key, ec2 user @ and we need to get the IP address, public IP address of the server. What is the public IP address of the server? Okay, so for the public server we need to find the public IP address. So we can see this is the public IP address, 18.206.58.234. and we then put colon. So that's how the file will be transferred. Let's say yes. Now it says permanently added this list and permission denied. It says permission denied. It is required that your private key files are not accessible by others. So we need to change the permission of this file. How exactly we are going to change the permission of this file? chmod, and it should be only readable to us. So for the read level access, we need to get 4 permission, and others should not be having any permission to this file. That's it. So now this file is readable only to the owner of the file. Again, this time it is transferred very well. And now let's go back here. Let's see from this EC2 instance, ls. Yes, now we have this file here. Using this file, we should be able to ssh -i using this file, and EC2 user is there, and we need to provide EC2-user @ we need to use private IP of the private server. So what is the private IP? You can see 1.50 range, and here it is. Okay, now we are able to connect. So we will not be able to directly connect to the private server, but we can connect from public and we can jump to the private server from there because they are within the same VPC. So we can directly jump in there. Now we need to run some kind of updates also. So from this server, we know that internet is directly available, but is it available here also? Let's check. Ping google.com. So we can see that internet is not available. And since internet is not available, how are we going to update the package or install anything or run the fixes, bugs, anything? We can't do that. For that purpose, since there is always a need that even if outside internet cannot access this server, but this server should be able to access the internet. For that purpose, we need NAT gateway. So let's go to NAT gateway, and in the network settings, create a NAT gateway. So here is the NAT gateway. Let's create a NAT gateway, and what we will call it? We will call it Mukesh NAT gateway, and connectivity type will be public. Yes, we need to choose the subnet also. So this should be available on public subnet. This should be available on public subnet. Here we can see in the map, NAT should be in the public subnet, because when it is public subnet, it will be able to access internet, and through this our private server will also be able to access the internet. So, and now allocate elastic IP address and create NAT gateway. We have this NAT gateway. Now we have to route our traffic through this NAT gateway. So let's go to route tables and create a route table for private route table. And same Mukesh VPC is going to be there, and create route table. In that route, we should be having subnet associations also. So let's associate our private subnet in this private route table. And we need to edit the routes also, because this is by default going to have only local route. So for that purpose, we need to add a route, and anything which is going towards internet public IP, that should be going via NAT gateway. And what is NAT gateway? Mukesh NAT gateway. That's it. So now we have created a route to reach any traffic towards internet via that route through NAT gateway through internet. Now let's see if we are able to reach internet or not. So let's try to ping Google again. Okay, it took some time to reflect actually, but then finally it is working. So actually we didn't do anything, everything was already there, but it took some time to refresh that. And that's why, since we already had this connection, it started working. We created NAT gateway. NAT gateway got public IP address. It was hosted in the public subnet. We created a route towards, for anything going towards internet, go via NAT gateway. And after that route table, it successfully worked. So now we have both the servers, private server, public server, and we can see everything is working. So in this video, we have learned how exactly We can create a VPC, we can create public subnet, private subnet, NAT gateway, route table, internet gateway, and how exactly communication is going to work among them. I hope you have got a good understanding of basic networking which is used day to day in AWS environment, and that is going to help in your day-to-day life also. And we are going to take it further in coming videos also. We are going to create VPN peering and transit gateway, etc. So that we will take care in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe so that you can get similar videos in future also. And I'm having a lot of courses going on, so you can be part of them.